to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all. You may be seated. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday. My name is David Hunter. I'm your town moderator. I'd like to introduce the people that you have up here. Starting with our select board, we have Lee Hogue, Steve Darrow, Ed Brindley. We have from the town clerk, Bonnie. We have our budget committee. We have Maureen O'Reilly, and then Catherine Mulholland. So I'm going to kind of give the rundown of our order of operation and rules. So as your town moderator, I will read the number and the text of the warrant article. I will call upon the sponsor to speak to the article. Once the sponsors are done, there will be an open discussion and/or amendments. Primary and secondary motions. Motions of points of order restricting of consideration can be made from the floor. If you are making a point of order, call the question, or make a motion, please raise your hand. You will be acknowledged. For amendments, only one amendment may be considered at a time. There must be a seconding motion to proceed. Amendments must be made in writing and presented to myself, the moderator, who shall read the amendment and allow the sponsor to speak. Monetary amendments must be made in dollars and not percentages. Negative amendments shall not be entertained. Amendments must include the original subject matter. As to speaking, for the benefit of the attendees, all persons wishing to speak are required to line up for their turn to use the provided microphone. When it is your turn, please identify yourself using your full name. Should a person issue a call to question, please let the remaining persons in line speak as they are given their turn. It is expected that each person shall be allotted up to 2 minutes to speak per turn. If a person appears to be repeating themselves, they may be asked to conclude their point and to complete their turn. Any inquiries for additional information will be left to the moderator to determine who will respond. My advice when speaking: it is my recommendation that when you wish to speak, consider what your central issue or problem is and the consequences of that problem. If possible, consider what you think would be the best solution and conclude your time presenting that solution. As to conduct, it is expected that when speaking, you conduct yourself professionally. It is understandable that discussions may become passionate. However, the use of profanity or personal attacks is not going to be permitted, and any person who does so shall forfeit the remainder of their term speaking. Should a person continue to disrupt the deliberative, they will be asked to leave. If the body feels a recount is warranted, a request shall be made by point of order by 7 registered or present voters. Do we have any questions at this point? Okay. All right, so for today, only registered voters may vote. Those who have checked in and are registered to vote will have a card. If you do not have a card and are registered to vote, you should take one now. Do we have any non-residents or non-registered voters in the audience today? Please raise your hand. Okay. And as such, that makes the issue of permitting non-registered voters opportunity to speak moot. All right. So, warrants for the town of Grafton. Yes, sorry. I will pass the microphone over to Bonnie for a moment for those who have passed.
A moment of silence for the people who deceased this year in the town of Grafton. Stephen Colburn, Shirley Smith, Kyle French, Janet Sullivan, Barbara Stevens, John Collins, William O'Neill, James Thompson, Pamela Curran, John Belushri, Karen Cummings Evans, Nancy Walker, April Donnelly, and Gretchen Colburn Hearn.
Warrant for the Town of Grafton, State of New Hampshire, 2025. To the inhabitants of the Town of Grafton, in the County of Grafton, in the State of New Hampshire, qualified to vote in town affairs, you are hereby notified to meet at the Grafton Fire and Ambulance Station, Grafton, New Hampshire, on Saturday, the 8th of February 2025 at 10 p.m. for the first session of the annual town meeting to discuss, debate, and amend the town budget and all warrant articles listed below, except Article 1, Election of Officers. You are hereby further notified to meet at the Grafton Fire and Ambulance Station, Grafton, New Hampshire, on Tuesday, the 12th of March, 2025, for the second session of the annual town meeting to vote by official ballot on elected officials and all warrant articles that are listed below. The polls will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Article 1, to choose all necessary officers for the ensuing year, including selectmen, 3 years, budget committee, 3 years, budget committee, 3 years, budget committee, 2 years, trustee of the trust funds, 3 years, library trustee, 3 years, cemetery trustees, 3 years, planning board, 2 years, planning board, 3 years, supervisors of the checklist, 1 year, supervisors of the checklist, 5 years, town clerk, 3 years. Article 2, shall the town raise and appropriate an operating budget, not including appropriations by special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately, the amount set forth on the budget posted with the warrant, or as amended by the vote of the first session, for the purposes set forth therein, totaling the amount of $1,474,838. Should this article be defeated, the default budget shall be $1,387,373, which is the same as last year, with certain adjustments required by previous actions of the Town of Grafton or by law. Or the governing body may hold one special meeting in accordance with RSA 40, Section 13, Part X, or Part 10 and 16, to take up the issue of a revised budget only. It excludes special warrant articles and other appropriations voted separately.
I make a motion that we waive the reading of articles number 3 through 16.
Second.
All in favor? How many do we got?
I have a question. Do I include the select board?
Yes. All opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Who am I going to make? Can you restate the motion? Try to write it down. Oh. Motion is to skip the reading.
Yeah, you go back and restate.
Yeah, I have an amendment.
All right, feel free to come up. Would the budget committee like to comment on the budget? As the sponsor? Does the select board have any comment?
The select board has an amendment.
Microphone, please.
The select board has an amendment to article number 2. Bring it up? Yes.
I go first. Select, there's a sponsor, sorry.
Over there.
Why the selectmen going first if she made?
Because they're technically part of the sponsorship, so it sponsors them in.
I have an amendment to raise the bottom line of the budget from $1,474,838 by $40,000 to a total of $1,500,014,838. And the reason that we wish to do this is to be able to finance an additional person to work in the highway department who is going to primarily work on mechanics, the mechanical workings of our old vehicles that constantly seem to go down to Reed's in Claremont at a tremendous cost. And the board was fortunate enough to find an individual who lives in Grafton who's able to do this work, and we want to be able to hire this person to work at the highway department. Can I add one thing? As well as work on the highway department, it would be working on all the vehicles that are in this building and be working on our police cruisers. So all those vehicles we would avoid bringing to a shop, and we'd be able to do the repairs, at least the relatively simple repairs in-house.
So I think we'll have the line set for so the highway streets, just add in.
That's the bottom line. We decided not to go line by line. Okay. We haven't decided that.
Can you come up to the microphone?
What's the background in this work, this is personnel?
We need you to come up to the microphone. Are you able to come up to the microphone? Right here. And just please state your name so we can identify you.
Karen Myers, I just have to ask, what kind of vehicular repair experience does this person have?
I'd say this person has a lot of experience working on municipal vehicles in the Boston area. He goes down to Lowell often for repairs, often making them on the side of 93, ball joints. But whatever breaks down in some of the old vehicles they have there, he's very well experienced doing that, and we feel he'd be an asset.
Thank you. I just felt that.
He's good parking lot mechanics.
Gary Whitney, what was the amount again, Steve? That you,
40,000.
okay. Has there been any sort of, at least a rough order of magnitude analysis as far as how much will be saved based on previous years? How many repairs we've had, how many times we've had to send these trucks or whatever out to be fixed? Do you have any idea how much we're saving?
Because the MCO charges $120 an hour to repair vehicles. We would be paying around $20 an hour.
So, based on previous experience, do we know how much we're saving? Or are we just kind of pulling numbers out our,
Probably about 60, 70,000.
how much?
About 60 to 70,000.
Good. All right. So if I may pause this particular side of the discussion, I was correct with one thing. What is our take from the select board on the budget as put down first? Do you have any commentary on what has been proposed before the amendment?
All I can say is the select board came up with that budget. I went to the budget committee and they made some revisions, and we totally support the budget as it was presented, except for the one thing we want to amend.
Okay. So following that, we have that particular amendment.
Yes.
And
No, I'm talking about what they remember.
Okay, perfect.
I just asked, so will this person be able to, like, when there's no repairs to be done, if that's possible, will they be working for the town road department?
Yes.
Yeah, he'll be part of the crew. So like on a snowy day, most likely, you'll see him out there behind a snowplow.
Thank you.
Brian, are you making a motion?
I would just like to know where the repairs are gonna be done. You said we're
Well, can you
shipping
come up to
the,
the microphone so it's captured on the recording?
Brian Fellers, where will the repairs be done? Will they be done in the town garage? Will they be done in someone's private garage? Will they be done here? Do we have lifts in any town garage to be able to lift the vehicles?
All repairs will be done in the town, highway department buildings.
Do they have a lift capable of lifting the bigger vehicles?
What they need to be looking for.
To be worked on?
It's not needed.
All right. Do we have any?
If we're saving money by hiring this guy, why do we need to appropriate more money?
No, the budget is where it is now, there's not enough to hire.
So is it an accounting matter? Please correct me if I'm wrong on your question, but in essence, if we have a line item, set of budgets, are we just pulling from one line item for repairs and relocating that into hiring someone, and therefore we're saving money in total? And that it would show up at that point, because that's the question is okay, if we're not paying these repairs over here, and we're adding a response over here, or a resource, then that does increase, so where's the savings? Is that your question?
This year, not guaranteeing you see huge savings, but we'll come back and then the next year, you'll start seeing savings and savings and savings.
Could you use the mic, please?
Sorry. Next. Hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. This year, we'll probably see a savings, but we'll see the repair budget not really hit a lot. But next year, we'll probably see the repair line start dropping instead of raising and raising.
I want to add one thing to it, is that right now, we have a piece of equipment, the roadside mower, which hasn't been able to be used for 2 years, and we cannot find the mechanic anywhere to fix the roadside mower. This person that we're looking to hire is capable of fixing this roadside mower and other equipment that we have that we haven't been able to find anybody to fix. Other mechanics have said, no, we won't touch it, and this guy, we've already asked him, and he said yes. That's my specialty, he said, so he had no problem fixing equipment that's been down for a couple of years.
I just might add, we don't know how this will work out in the bottom line, but we know we have a roadside board that's going to cost $30,000 to replace. We feel confident that there's a pretty good shot that this might repair it. There's other vehicles down there as well that when they have to go to the shop, and that's generally in Claremont, we usually waste 2 man-days getting that thing down there or go through a huge towing bill. So all those will be saved and we'll be able to recoup that. Right now, if you look at who's plowing the roads during a snowstorm, they get somebody that's not part of the road department to help them do that. We will no longer have to do that because we'll have the manpower at the highway department to handle all the roads during the winter.
So, how many people makes a full complement of the road department normally? What do we usually try to get for?
Historically, that's gone from 5 to 4, and in the past, we've gone through with 2. It
Right.
depends. Sometimes it's very hard to find and retain qualified people in the road department.
And this person's gonna do this for $40,000?
We have
That's pretty reasonable.
Well, no, it's not $40,000. That's how much we want to add to the budget. The budget will take care of the rest of the expense for this individual.
So they'll become on the road department, and that'll bring us up to a complement
We'll
of?
have 5 CDL, that was called CDL qualified drivers. We have 1 non. So we have 4 CDLs, and then we have 1 who's not a CDL who does odds and ends.
So we'll have 5 plus 1,
No, 5 plus 4 plus 1.
or 4 plus 1? Okay. So
It also gives the road agent more time to manage the department.
is it because we're increasing the wages that we need the 40,000? Because obviously we could pay for 4 plus 1 before. So is it because we are increasing their hourly rate?
Yes.
So, Deborah pretty much touched on what I
Jake,
wanted to
can
do.
you identify yourself first? Sorry.
Jacob left. Yeah, so the department already had 5 people. Does that increase?
No, it's only 4, right?
No, had in the past, so there was in the budget money for 5 people already. So what is the, to Lee's point, you're saying this year we won't see as much savings as next year? Why is that?
We don't know. I mean, this would be the first year that we actually have an in-house mechanic, so we're going to have to tabulate how much we actually
Okay, but you're hiring a guy, but you're not confident that there will be any savings.
I feel pretty confident. I mean, if he gets the roadside mower working, that's a huge savings right there. We don't know, but we have to try.
Yeah, as it's already brought up, it's not clear what the increase in the budget is necessary. If you're confident that the guy can actually bring those savings, it's not necessary.
So we're increasing the budget so we can pay him to do it. If we don't increase the budget, we don't hire him.
Does that mean that next year's budget will go down by 40, 60,000%?
I can't tell you that.
That's a possibility.
But this is why it's a
But
budget,
unfortunately,
correct?
so
Part of the problem that today, as we all said here, is that we have a problem keeping employees on the highway department because we pay very low money per hour for these people. It's like we're losing town employees to other towns all the time. We already lost at least 2 people this year to other towns to gain it. Enfield.
and we could do 5 people before because we were paying $15 an hour. We can't do that anymore. The reason why we can't keep employees.
Yeah, I totally support what you're doing. My question is though, who's running the show now? Do we have a road agent? Or where is that process? Or is somebody going to become a road agent? What's happening with that process?
Oh, we have a road agent. His name is Jeffrey Joyce.
Okay.
Is our road agent.
He's still our road agent?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we have any further discussion? Any further comment? All right, then shall we take a vote on this amendment? So this is a vote to amend Article 2 to add a bottom line item to increase the total amount by $40,000 to an amount of $1,514,838 for the purposes of allocating an additional funding to hire an additional road mechanic. Road crew. All in favor, please raise your cards. Third amendment passes. All right. Deb?
Yeah. Debbie Clark. I'd like to offer an amendment to increase the budget by $500. The library, I think the budget committee did a really good job on the budget, but right now the library has hired somebody who would be a director, and we have to train that person, and there is a lot of training with the library, computer and whatnot. They did also cut our program budget by $250, so I'm asking just for $500. I could go more, but I thought $500 would be fine because I think they were more than fair in their budget recommendation. So I'm just asking that we increase the bottom line now that it's 1514838 to 1515338.
Discussion. Please come to the microphone. Oh, do we have a second?
Who seconded?
No, I said somebody's going to second.
Dan?
Well, no, Dan, were you seconding?
Yes.
I have a point of order. If we're not gonna go down line by line, we can't just have people come up here and raise the budget 50 grand here, 40 grand here, $5 here, 2 cents here. If we wanna go down item by item, which we should, so people can get what they want for their special department, I say we start the whole process over and do it legally.
Is that making a motion to go line by line?
Yes.
Anyone seconding?
Does that motion take place before mine?
Pardon?
Does that motion take precedence over mine?
No, we're going to complete here. So, returning to Deb's motion. Do we have any discussion? Are we, anyone going to second hers?
Yeah, they second
Okay,
that.
well, yeah, Dan. Okay. Distracted. All right, discussion. Do we have any questions that you'd like to discuss on this? As the sponsor, you are allowed to present your case for it.
Well, I did.
No discussion? Then all in favor, please raise your hand.
Come on, Aaron.
Seven. All opposed? One. Motion passes. Now for going line by line. That motion was, we're going to go line by line for every item in the budget. All in favor, please raise your cards.
Are we talking about the warrant line by line or the entire budget?
It was the budget line by line. We go through all the articles in the warrant. All right, all opposed?
I see. Continue to raise the budget, folks.
What did you say, Mitch?
10.
Motion fails. Continuing then. Still on the budget. Any further discussion?
I would just like to limit reconsideration of that article.
Any seconding?
Second.
Seconded by Bonnie. All in favor of motion, for the motion to eliminate reconsideration?
No. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't say that.
It's my fault to make everyone This is the motion to eliminate reconsideration, meaning we can't come back and for Article 2. We're one and done.
Got
10
10?
in favor? 13. All opposed? Great. Motion passes. All right, on to warrant article number 3. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $18,000 to be placed in the previously established new police cruiser capital reserve fund. The selectmen recommend this article. The budget committee also recommend this article. Select board, do you have any input as a sponsor?
No, this is, nothing norm, nothing out of, norm. We do this every year just so we can gain money to replace the cruiser once it gets beat and destroyed. We're trying to, do it a little bit more often now, so we're not going 10 years on a vehicle, so we're not rushing to get a vehicle when it's dead.
The reason it's 18,000 this year, just in case anybody's been following along, the 18,000 is being raised because normally it's, they ask for $9,000 a year. There was no money set into this capital reserve fund last year. So they're trying to make it up this year for what they didn't get last year. So come next year, it may only be 10,000. It's not going to be that 18. It's just trying to play catch up.
Does the budget committee have any comments? Okay. The floor is open for discussion. Anyone have any amendments or questions?
I just wanted to clarify, I think something that said.
Can you give your name real quick?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Mitchell Briggs, yeah. So the price of cruisers have gone up too, so I wouldn't say that we're going back to 9. I mean, ideally I would like to drop it down from 18 years to come, but, you know, we just paid, I think the cruiser alone was like 45 grand, plus it's about 20 grand on top of it. So I'm looking to establish a rotation of, get about 8 years per cruiser, and we have 2 cruisers. So about 8 years per cruiser. The recommendation is 6. I think we can push it to 8 years, hopefully, as long as, you know, no accidents or major damage. What was that? So I guess that's it, is just trying to get 8 years, and then the price of cruiser is 45 plus 20, gets you about, some math on that, but 18, so I don't think it'll drop down to where we've been asking, because prices of cruiser are up a lot, but
Everything's more expensive.
exactly, so.
Thank you. There's no further comments or amendments. Can we get a motion to accept? Oh, we don't. We just move them? Okay. And Article 4, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,000 to be placed in the previously established historical records restoration capital reserve fund. The selectmen do recommend this article, as well as the budget committee.
It's just an account so that we can not finish, but go on with our restoration of our historical books. They're very expensive. Normally, they cost about $20,000 per book to have them restored. And I still have quite a few books that need to be restored, so it's, so putting $5,000 in a year doesn't get me a book a year, but we're aiming for that.
Thank you.
And just to let I plan on writing another grant. I've written 2 and gotten 2. And I plan on writing another grant this year in hopes to get some help.
Do we have any discussions? All right, if there's no further commentary, we shall proceed. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 to be placed in the previously established Fire Department Apparatus Capital Reserve Fund. The selectmen recommend this article, and so does the Budget Committee. Do we have a representative to speak on that as a sponsor?
Good morning. My name is Heather Hunter. I'm the safety officer of the fire department. And this article is to put money into the capital, well, the truck fund, the apparatus fund, because apparatus is increasing. To get a new engine, not with any equipment, is $900,000. So continuing to put money into this account will help fill in the gap. And then also when we apply for grants, a lot of them are matching grants. So we still have to, as a town, would have to put maybe 10%, 20%, and even up to 50% of the cost. So.
Sorry for skipping the select board. You guys have any input? Floor is open for discussion. There's no further discussion. We'll proceed to item 6. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be placed in the previously established new ambulance capital reserve fund, with said funds to come from the ambulance revolving fund. Selectmen does recommend this article, as well as the Budget Committee. Select Board, do you have any comments?
I could tell you, we have a new ambulance, and it's beautiful, isn't it? And the other one's been in service for over 17 years, the old ambulance. This is a beautiful ambulance. Fortunately, we had members that applied for a grant, and if it wasn't for the grant, we wouldn't be getting it. And so now that we have a nice new shiny ambulance, we want to start saving for the next one, which should come about probably in about 19 years or so, give or take a couple of years. So we want to start now. That's what it's all about.
Debbie Cook. But it says it's coming from the ambulance revolving fund, so that's not taxed.
I'm glad you brought that up. It is coming from the revolving fund, so they're just moving it into an account that won't be touched for anything else. It's exclusively for saving for an ambulance. We're not raising taxes to do it, so I'm glad you mentioned that.
What's in the revolving account from now? I mean, is there a big amount or what?
Like, what is its balance? Is that the question?
Yeah. What's the balance of the revolving?
Basically, as we speak, and there's 57,000 in there, but right now, they're also waiting, they had to pay 85,000 out for the new ambulance. That 85,000 is coming back to the town. So it's just so that puts it up around $130,000 plus. And this account gets added to all year, every time the ambulance goes out. And as long as people take and use the billets and send it in, they get reinsured money back into the account from the insurance companies.
Do you know approximately how much money from that revolving account paid for this ambulance?
No.
Just approximately how much
I
came
don't
out of
know if
that
Heather
revolving
can take
account?
and answer that.
Heather Hunter, member of the ambulance company, and also who wrote the grant with some wonderful help within the community. The money that came out of the revolving account was, I believe, around maybe 50 or 60, because we had to match a certain amount and we get reimbursed. So the Rural Development USDA grant was a reimbursement, and we are getting reimbursed $92,070. and that should be hopefully coming within the next couple of weeks. So the money that we're moving over, keep in mind that, you know, the total cost of the ambulance was almost $300,000. And in another 20 years, who knows where that's going to end up. We might be looking at $900,000 like a fire truck. And it's important to note that that's just the chassis, that's just the truck. That's not the stretcher, that's not any equipment. So, any other questions?
Well, I didn't hear quite, how much of the revolving account paid for this?
I believe 50. I mean, I might be a little, 50,000, I might be a little off here or there. Yeah, we're going to be getting reimbursed by the USDA for the grant. That's the 9270.
So we're gonna get what we put in?
Correct.
Back.
Correct.
Revolving account.
Correct. And it's important to note that no tax money was used to buy that truck. So it came out of the revolving account and it came out of the grant.
Thank you. So not including that article, just to make a point, I added up all these capital reserves and it's 308,000 if they all pass. Is that in line with previous years or is it high? It seems high to me, I'm not sure. I know it's, you know, it's sort of general about capital reserve funds in general.
That puts a big touch on our budget, but if you notice, the next one we're gonna go through is for a highway capital reserve, it's $100,000. You might notice that there's no new vehicles on the warrant for the highway department, so it's kind of balancing itself out.
Last year, we passed a warrant article to start a capital improvement committee. I guess I'm a little disappointed that nobody showed up from the committee, or is there someone here? Okay. The whole idea was that the committee would give a recommendation and a long-term plan on how this money is going to be used. Yet a year passed, and we're at the exactly same point in past years where there's just sums of money allocated with no specific plan.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to that, if I could, a little bit. The Capital Improvement Committee, is that what it's called? Was it set up to do just that? The startup took quite a while. We've had some resistance from some of our committees that didn't want to participate in that. And then the department managers, it was hard to get information regarding that. So we have been compiling that since we started. And the committee should come up with a plan this year. And that's where it stands.
I believe, if I recall correctly, that departments are required to go in front of the committee, if they like it or not.
I don't know if there's an RSA that requires them to go in front of the committee, but I can tell you that I don't think we had anybody come in front of the committee. The committee members themselves went to the department heads. After they were invited to the committee, we had to split it up between the 5 members that we have, and we went to the department heads. We received some information, and right now we are compiling that information.
So I'm saying if the department heads are not cooperating, maybe not cooperating is the right word, but I'm saying if there's no back and forth between what the plans are, is there really any use for the committee?
I think that's going to remain to be seen. I think Heather would like to chime in on this too.
Yeah, can I? Okay, it's a rebuttal. So having actually the capital improvement plan is actually very important. We had emergency management re-up because for emergency managers, we have to up our plans. So if there was a natural disaster that was to happen in town, we actually fall on these plans. We're actually state required to have that. And from my understanding, and the select board can correct me because I believe a few of them were at that meeting, one of the major questions was, do we have a capital improvement plan committee? And this year we actually got to say yes. Like any committees, it takes time to build. We've never had, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, we've never had a capital improvement plan committee in town. So a lot of it was researching on what is entailed, what's the form. We reached out to the surrounding towns and saying, hey, what does your plan look like? Yes, the capital improvement plan committee is supposed to say, hey, the town highway needs
$200,000, let's go and look for grants, let's go and do this. But in order to do that, we have to have a direction, we have to have unity, we have to have support from the community. We have it with the board, you know, the directors of the different departments, heads, it's still kind of new. So it's, again, molding and working together and having a CIP that opens up for grants, that opens up for support, and be like, hey, Grafton has a plan and we're going in a direction.
Gary Whitney, again, and as some of you may recall, I was the one that will take the credit or the blame, as the case may be, for proposing the warrant article that was eventually approved to let the select board establish the capital improvement committee. I actually proposed two warrant articles at that point in time. The first one was the one we just talked about, the one that was actually approved. The second one was perhaps a bit more controversial and was meant to give some teeth to the first one, because a lot of the problems we've had, as was just mentioned, there's been no cooperation, very little cooperation from some of the department heads and the departments that are supposed to be involved in this. The thing I was proposing was to inhibit departments from being part of the capital improvement program to begin with, and not being able to take funds out of capital improvement. That the legality of this was probably needed to be looked at, and to my knowledge has not even been looked at yet. Is the town going to take some action to look at that aspect of things and look at the way that the departments are allowed to be part of the capital improvement program, or part of the improvement funds? If they can't get funds out of their capital improvement
Capital reserve.
capital reserve, yes, you're right, thank you. They won't be able to get their budgets properly used. Come and look at that sort of thing and see if that will work. That's my only comment.
Do we have any further discussion?
Yes.
Please.
I'd like to make a motion to make an amendment to Article number 6 to state that on the bottom line that it says no impact on taxation. As it, right now it does not say that, so we don't want people to think of that.
Second.
Second. Yeah. Right. Well,
Can you repeat the language, please?
I'm sorry.
What was the change again?
Well, no, I'll just read it. And I'll read it in full. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 to be placed in the previously established new ambulance capital reserve fund, with said funds to come from the ambulance revolving fund. No impact on taxation.
Who's going to take this?
The selectmen recommend this article, budget committee recommends this article.
Did you ask the budget if they were?
Well, no, I'm
Yeah, you can.
reading the text.
Come on. Because the recommendation always stays with the original article. So it hasn't changed the recommendation.
Sir.
Sarah Holt. So just to be clear, the original language for that did have that in there. However, when we sent the warrant articles to the lawyer, he did suggest that that not be in there. So that's why it was removed.
In previous years when we do that, we've always had to include that. So I kind of have to disagree with that.
That's fine, I just want to make sure that you
No,
remember that. Okay.
I understand that, but when it goes in front of the voters, they're going to think that that's going to have an impact on taxes.
Yep.
I think Matt is wrong on that.
Yeah.
Any further discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of amending, okay, all in favor of amending Article 6? All opposed?
I'd like to make a motion to limit reconsideration on Articles 3, 4, 5, and 6. Second.
All in favor? All opposed? All right. Motion to limit reconsideration passes. And that included 2 or 7? Or just
Up to 6.
Up to 6. All right. Warrant Article 7. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $100,000 to be placed in the previously established Highway Department Capital Reserve Fund. The Selectmen recommend this article. The Budget Committee also recommends this article. Select Board, you have any? Select Board.
As has been stated in previous warrant articles before, equipment's now getting cheaper. We just got a used grader to replace our almost 40-year-old John Deere that was dying as it was rolling. Trucks now are like $600,000 plus. Graders and loaders and stuff are higher. This is just to start recuperating the money we've already spent on it, on the stuff we just bought. Most of our equipment's old and beat. I believe our oldest piece of equipment is our loader, which is a 92. And goes to a 2004 backhoe, and the backhoe is pretty beat as it is. This is just to jump on what may be coming down the
So in the past, I believe 3 years, I've been attending at the Budget Committee meetings, and every year the road agent comes in and asks for